Hey, this is Joel Baker with American Giants. Finally, time to do the video on this past Memorial Day weekend at the American Giants Museum. I want to do a full coverage of everything that happened, especially for those of you who were not able to join us there, but also for those of you who were there, you can reminisce, and it was a fantastic weekend. Memorial Day weekend has kind of become a giant event now in Atlanta, Illinois every year. There's also other things that go on that weekend, like big car shows, and I think I missed it, but this year it was absolutely massive. There was hundreds of cars there. But it was also a special year because we finally got all the pedestals filled at the American Giants Museum. Now Muffler Man stand on every pedestal. And there's a total of 6 Giants now that stand at the American Giants Museum. So that is a big milestone for us. So to start at the beginning, this actually started long before Memorial Day weekend. Lee Woods and we work together now at the American Giants Museum. He owns the place, and a lot of the collection is mine, although now he's adding his own there. And we're always looking for more stuff that we can bring to the museum, and we both were working on projects. One of the things I've been looking for a long time is a Sizzler Bull. These were made by International Fiberglass for Sizzler Steakhouse in California, and they are extremely rare. I finally found one, and my buddy Jeff Kunkel with Vintage Roadside was able to work with the owner and basically make us a copy. And I really appreciate Jeff, his hard work on this, working with the fiberglass company in Oregon that did all the work, and just seeing that whole project through. And the original was restored as well. And then I was given a Giant in primer, and we had to get that to Colorado so I could get it to the museum, which then Giant could take it home with them. This is how things work. Lee Woods also got a A&W root beer mama. And so both of those were in Oregon. And so we worked with a guy that is friends with Robbie Wolf with American Pickers, and he was coming this way. And so he brought both my bull and Lee's A&W mama to Cheyenne. And I was able to drive up to Cheyenne, which isn't too far from me, and get those items, and then combine those with the stuff that we got at the Dark Horse for Lee. That's a different episode. I won't mention that here, but a bunch of stuff came from the Dark Horse, including a Papa Burger, and all of that had to get on the trailer. So it was a massive load for my trailer. I was taking my van, and so it was quite the show going down the road, but thankfully we got everything to Illinois in one piece. So I rolled into town Saturday evening, right after that huge car show. The Cruise-In car show ended. Everybody was on a high from that, the people that were still around town. So it was fun to talk to all my buddies that were there that had just had a fantastic day with all of that stuff, and then roll in with my trailer load of Giants. We went out to eat, and then after that it got dark, and it was time to unload my trailer. And so a bunch of these guys that all show up for this every year, it's kind of like a reunion for us. We're all into these Giants. Many of us are collectors, or we do social media posts, and so we all got to work.
Well, back then I was buying cassette tapes, man.
Arrived in Atlanta, Illinois for the Giants going up tomorrow, and brought in all this stuff from Colorado. Got a Papa Burger, Sizzler, Bull, Boo Boo Bear, Mama, a bunch of stuff for Lee's new place here, the Giant Route 66 stop. We'll go in and check that out, but we're gonna get a bunch of this stuff off the trailer and through his window there, and shuffle some stuff around tonight between this and the museum. So this should be a lot of fun. It's good to be back in Atlanta after a year.
Go to your left, go to your left. Go to your left.
Whose idea was this anyhow?
Yours.
Sunday morning, before the Giants arrived, the museum was open. People were pouring in. The place was getting busy. This is a highlight for me. I live in Colorado. I don't get to spend much time in Atlanta and at the museum. So when I'm there, it's really a highlight, and I just love it. Got to see some friends and acquaintances that I'm aware of in the online world on the road with Craig and Linda. They were there, and I think that was the first time I actually met them. It feels like I know a lot of these people because, I mean, it's been 10 plus years that I've been following them on Instagram and Facebook. Banyan, good buddy of mine. I've watched this kid grow up with a passion for muffler men, and he was doing videos when he was under 10, I think, when I first saw him. And he was there and came out to the museum. Not his first time, but the first time that we both were there at the same time. And also a great weekend to choose, since all the pedestals were going to be filled that day, and also with some great iconic giants coming. These events really attract Muffler Man fans, roadside attraction enthusiasts, Route 66 travelers, and people who simply love unusual things. And I met so many of you that day, and it's truly an honor for me to be at these events and just get to meet and talk with so many of you and hear your stories and the giants you've seen. And everybody's different. Everybody comes to the table with a little bit different passion and different angle of things you're interested in. So I just really enjoy taking the time on a weekend like this to try to talk to everybody I can that has taken the time to come there and experience these giants going up with you. Honestly, meeting the people is the highlight for me. I love the giants, you know where my passion is, but being able to get to know some of you and hearing your stories is really the highlight for me. I wish I lived closer so I could spend more time in the museum. I would take a few shifts myself to volunteer just to get to meet everybody. I came back a few weeks later after this event and spent a weekend in the museum. And it's so fascinating. Even people from other countries, France, Italy, England, are so passionate about the giants on the American roadsides. I also got to meet some young YouTube followers, like watching Banyan grow up and become so passionate about the giants. There was other kids that came who were very young. It happens every year. And that's one thing that is very important to me to take time for, is to talk to these young people and encourage their interest in the giants. One of them actually was asking me about the purple horse that appears in many of my videos. This guy right here. And so I told him a little bit of the story and background of this horse. So it's just fun to interact and see the young people also excited about the giants. So the park across the street has always been a great staging place for people to bring their lawn chairs and their camping chairs and talk, get to know each other and wait. It's always a bit of a waiting game. We've gotten better. When the big friend went up a few years ago, I think from the time we told people he would come till he actually showed up was 3 or 4 hours. I think we were at an hour late this time. So we're getting better. One of these years we're going to nail it. But it's a big job for Giant to haul these giants, and these two this year came in double-decker style. So there's a lot going on there with setup and them leaving their shop on time, and dealing with last-minute things that go wrong. And so we're getting better, but the park was full and the place was crowded, and people were ready to see these giants arrive.
Tall old centuries in a row.
One thing I really enjoy about Giant is every year when they come in, there's kind of this tradition where they'll park first and let people come in and take pictures. And that's what happened this year. It's happened since the beginning with the big friend. But they brought in the two Giants. They were stacked double-decker, and everybody crowded around, took pictures. You do your poses, people do their stand-ups for their YouTube channels, and talking about these Giants. And it's a great time to check out the Giants up close, especially the upper halves of them, which are going to be up in the air after they go up. So this is a time where you can really look at the details of the face and the helmet and so on. And also talk to others around about what's going on. It's Giant pulls in. They had this. I was laughing because they had this AI probably created this country music song about American Giants, and they were blasting this on the radio, so it was kind of fun. But it's also a time that Giant takes to prep the Giants. While everybody's looking at the Giants, Giant is attaching maybe hats or heads or arms. They're prepping the trailer. They're taking the straps off. They're doing all this stuff, you know, while people are taking their pictures. So you're not really wasting any time. And when people are done, then that truck drives around, comes up the back alley, and they always park in the same spot so the crane can access the Giants. And that's when they start getting all the lines hooked up and the spreader bar hooked up and everything. And people back off a little bit to give them room and get ready for the Giants to go up. How's it going, Michael?
Oh, it's going.
Good. First time double-decker?
First time double-decker, first time 3 Giants in one day. And we're short 4 anchor bolts.
It seems like every time we do this, there's a bit of a reshuffle. The priorities change in what Giants we want on what pedestal. So when the Snurd was set up, he was on the center pedestal and he was the only one. And then you have these others come in and we always want to shuffle things around. So the first thing we did is we unbolted the Viking, picked him up and moved him to the outside right pedestal. And this was a great opportunity for those who didn't see the Viking set up to watch him get moved. He comes from Chincoteague, Virginia. Fantastic local history there. I still probably, out of all the comments I get on my Facebook page, the fans and local people who live in Chincoteague, they're very vocal and proud of their Viking. And he was right in their community for so many years. Good friend of mine. I haven't met her, but Star was his caretaker, and her and I had conversations for years. She eventually sold him to some buddies of mine who have really honored him and restored him and put him back together and worked with Giant to get an internal in him. And so he has a fantastic history. He's one of those Vikings that actually lost his shield, and that was common because they're so big and they were like the wind always caught him, and so many of them don't have them anymore. So he actually was just standing there holding nothing, and that also was about to change by the end of the day. So the Indian Brave was first off the trailer. They picked him up and quickly, you know, we often deal with, it's not always the same game the same time. You know, you lift one Giant off and the next Giant the next year may be a different situation. And so that's what happened with this Indian. His arm position is different. He's not the classic muffler man position. He's got that raised arm, and this actually was snagging the line from the spreader bar. And so they had to lower him back down and retie him a different way so that when they picked him up, he wasn't going to snag and spin. So this is something Giant's really good at. They roll with anything that comes at them, and we also work with local crane operators who are now helping us every time. And these guys, I noticed this when they were moving the Indian into position, and at the speed and expertise that they bring to this, they really know what they're doing. And so it makes things go really fast, and it's always an amazing thing to like watch these massive 20-foot tall muffler men, you know, swing through the air and get moved around. And so that's part of the excitement and why so many people come to these events every year, is you can actually watch this up front and personal in person and get it's an experience that video doesn't do justice. So yes, it's cool to watch the videos, but to be there in person, it's a whole different thing. What do you think, Ben?
It's pretty special just to see this being completed.
The American Indian Brave has great history out of Bemidji, Minnesota. He was at Morrell's Trading Post. It was kind of a clothing store and sold all kinds of jewelry and different things. It's a tourist attraction town. There's the giant Paul Bunyan right across the street with Babe the Blue Ox. And then the Brave stood right just across the street from him, although in recent years he's largely been obscured by a massive tree. So a lot of people didn't even see him over there. I stopped in maybe 2 or 3 years ago and said hi, took some video, and I had a conversation with the owner, and I said, look, if you ever get to the point where you need to find him a new home, let me know. And lo and behold, my phone rings a few years later, and she was selling the business and it had to relocate, and there was no provision for the Giant, and so we went up there and got him. And a lot of people asked me when he went up, they said, hey, we noticed that everything else is restored and the Brave here from Bemidji is unrestored. And, you know, how come he's not getting the same attention? And, you know, it's not all about that he wasn't getting attention. He actually was getting attention. That's why he's up. It's because I didn't want him to lay in the weeds where no one could see him for a few years. I'd rather put him up unrestored, and that's a part of their story too. So many of these muffler men are unrestored. They got peeling paint. That's part of their story. That's part of their history, and we need to tell that too, which is why you'll notice in the museum some of the stuff is restored and some of it isn't, because vintage condition is really a part of that story. It also takes a lot of time and it takes money to restore these giants, and that is something that we are limited on both, and so we don't always have the time or the money to restore the giants, and that's why I wanted to put him up anyhow, so he wasn't in the weeds, but he could be enjoyed now by people traveling Route 66. One thing I don't do a lot of is fundraising. I get tired when I watch YouTube videos and all they do is ask for money. And so if you've noticed on my videos, there's something that's been left out completely, and that's asking for money. I just don't do it. I want you to come to watch these videos and really get the experience and be on a cool adventure and not think about money. But they do take money. Every time we have a giant go up, a lot of that comes out of my pocket. A lot of that comes out of Lee Wood's pocket. We are passionate about these giants, so we invest our own money into it. And both of us hate asking for money. However, next year, we do have some big things coming. There's the Bartlett waving giant from Bartlett, Illinois, with some great Illinois history. I'd love to see him go up next year. So I do want to give you an opportunity to help if you want to, and this isn't going to be a huge sales pitch, but at the end of the video, if you want to donate, I'll give you a QR code and my email. You can, if Venmo doesn't work, email me, and we'll figure out the best way that you can help be a part of this. After the Indian was standing tall again, it was time to take off the frame that had separated the giants. And once that was off, then they hooked up the Astro guy and got him rigged to come up. The Astro Oil Company Giant is something that was really Lee's idea and heavily encouraged by me because it is the first spaceman that International Fiberglass made. And it was very, very, very early on after they got the Muffler Man molds and they were making Paul Bunyans. He was probably the first Muffler Man that was tweaked and changed to be a different character. And it was a really cool campaign they were doing with the Astro Oil Company. There was also a Texaco connection, and we can see that by old newspaper advertisements of the period. But this guy was painted in the gold and the blue. He had a antenna on his helmet, and he held that sign. And what we did is we took old promotional pictures from International Fiberglass, and we recreated the Giant. So the Giant is a replica. It was made last year, and then it was painted and made to look exactly like the original. Giant actually took a lot of extra time to tweak and change the arms to match the hand position of the original Giant and the way he held that sign, and they did a fantastic job of that. The original Giant ended up at a Los Angeles gas station, and pictures continue to show up through the 70s. He lost his feet, they got run over and broken off. He was in worse and worse repair until he finally just disappeared altogether. So he was a loss, but he was the first spaceman that was ever made. There was a few more that were made, one for New York, another one that showed up in Maryland, actually New Jersey. And then finally, we believe the last spaceman that was made was the Gemini Giant. And the Gemini Giant is the only spaceman, original one, that we know of that still exists today. Although that might not be true. If you take that helmet off, he blends in with the other muffler men. So there's no telling. There might be another one out there that we don't realize has spaceman history, and we just think is a regular standard muffler man. As the Astro guy got lifted up and set into place, you know, it's always so much excitement in the air when these things happen, and you know, people are cheering and taking, you know, cameras are snapping, and the air is really alive, and that's one thing I always encourage people to come to these events if you can, because it's really neat to watch them go up. And when the Astro guy got bolted down and stood there for the first time, you know, that was the moment that finally all those pedestals were full of the American Giants Museum. And it was kind of a bit of a dream come alive and true for a few of us who have worked so many years and so hard to make this become a reality. Bill Thomas was there with the American Betterment Fund, and this is a man who listened to me when no one else seemed to care about this idea to have a museum and put all my collection of giants in one place. And so even though he sold him and his organization, the Atlanta Betterment Fund, sold the museum to Lee, we're still honored to work with Bill, and he was right there to help us with placement and make sure the angle. He brings a museum expertise to this that Lee and I simply don't have, and we're very grateful for that with Bill. And that is why the museum has all these placards and all this information on the wall, is because of what Bill has brought to it. So we're always honored to have Bill there, and it was fun for the three of us to experience that moment and finally see all these pedestals filled out. As all this was happening, I got a tap on my shoulder from one of the many people that recognized me from the videos, and of course people see me there and they want to talk with me, and this is one thing I love about these weekends, and I get to meet and talk to people. But we were setting things up, and the Astro guy had just gone up, and so I was a little bit distracted. And one thing I have to remember, I always have to keep shooting video. So even though people are talking to me, you often will see me shooting video at the same time, because the video is the lifeline to YouTube. I can't just go through the day and not shoot video, or I get home with nothing. But a gentleman tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, "Hey, I really enjoy your channel, and by the way, I have a Muffler Man head in the back of my car you might like to see." And I laughed and I said, "Well, you know how to get my attention. And so we walked across the street, and this guy had a 14-foot original international fiberglass bunion head. This is like the Luke Lombard style for the chainsaw company, like the one we restored with Morton's Gap, and we were missing that head. So that was really cool to see, and Lee came over and we were talking to the guy and taking pictures. But you never know what people have, and this guy bought it like years ago for a few $100. Has Chicago history. Who knows where it was in Chicago originally? But I just love this kind of stuff when people bring things to events and show me. Finally, after the Astro guy was up, the Reed Giant's crew shifted around and started working on the sword. This was an incredible sword, very heavy, but that was made for the Viking. Originally, they did not hold swords, but this one will and does now. And the Reed Giant crew attached it into place, and it goes all the way down to the ground underneath him. But it absolutely looks fantastic and completes the look. And the guy doesn't have a shield, but he has a really cool sword. At the end of the day, I noticed that Reed Giant and their whole team all grouped together in front of the Giants for a picture. And I don't know everybody super well anymore on the Reed Giant crew. I'm getting to know them. There's a lot of new guys. But the owner of Reed Giant is Michael Yunkin. And Michael Yunkin and I go way, way, way back, long before I got into Giants. We were both in our early 20s working in media together when that friendship formed. And that guy has been with me since the very beginning, since I brought that Morton's Gap guy home and had no idea what I was doing. And Michael jumped in and learned fiberglass and now has become an expert. A few years ago, he took over the restoration side of American Giants and created his own company, Reed Giant. And so this group of people, especially Will Wharf, who works with him, it was us three in the beginning who really did a lot of the work, and it was a very small team back in those days, and now Michael has a much bigger team that comes out with him. Yeah, near and dear to my heart that he would jump into this world, even though it wasn't his passion, but he's become one of the best in the business for restoring these guys, transporting them, and setting them up. And Michael and his team are always very creative. They're always thinking outside of the box. And with the Astro guy, you know, the original had this antenna on his head, and they were like, well, that'd be really cool if it blinked. So they came up with this idea that it would actually be, I think it's a tower light for one of these tall towers, and it's solar powered. And so at night, when it gets dark, if the sensors realize it's getting dark and the light starts to blink. The inside of the American Giants Museum has really drastically changed over the last few years as more and more stuff has come in. Lee and I are always actively working together to make it a better experience. We're still working on that. We're working on new plaques and new IDs and info panels for a lot of this new stuff that just got there. I actually will do another episode on a full tour of the museum, and it's with the latest Giants that are in there. I'll save that for another video. But it's been really great working with Lee to make this museum something truly unique. I remember when we first started this and we got things up and going, you know, I had people talk to me and write me and say things like, you know, no one's ever going to read all those info panels. That's not the way to do this kind of attraction. It's way too much information. People don't care. They said you don't need a TV in there. Nobody is going to watch any of your videos there. People are there to do fun stuff. You don't need info panels. You don't need all that book on the wall and a TV. And you know, I was there 2 weeks after the Memorial Day event. I was there on Memorial Day. It's true. Some people come in, they look around, they take a few pictures, and they leave. But there's so many people that read the panels. They take pictures of the panels, so if they don't have time right then, they can sit in the car and read later. They're interested in the history, and they take the time to read all the details, which is what it's all about for me. That's why this was built, so we could tell that story. And it's not, you can pose with a muffler man anywhere on Route 66, and I am thankful for the countless business owners who have brought the Giants to all states and parts of Route 66, and that is all a part of a story and very interesting and important. But it's also the American Giants Museum's job to tell the story and to have all this info panels on the wall and to have the TV there to show you what it's like when they go up and maybe you weren't able to visit. At the museum, visitors learn about Bob Pruitt. They learn about Bill Swan, who sculpted the Giants. They learn how these Giants were built, how they traveled across America, how the fiberglass giant boom spread from coast to coast, and how it slowly faded away. Many of these Giants were abandoned, some were damaged, others disappeared completely, but somehow muffler men survived. And today, they are finding new life on Route 66. Visitors do care. They do ask questions. They become invested in the story and the experience of the muffler man. And that is what it's all about. And to watch that happen in real time, especially over a weekend like the one we had this last Memorial Day weekend, is very, very rewarding for me. And standing there Memorial Day with all those flags and seeing all those pedestals full, yeah, it was a little emotional. I thought about all those years of research and all that planning and that vacant lot that once was there where all those Giants stood. The countless hours spent tracking these Giants. The countless hours spent editing videos so people could catch the passion that I had. Sharing stories, trying to get people excited about preserving these pieces of Americana. There were times when I wondered if the people would understand why these Giants matter. Standing there and seeing visitors from all over the country enjoying the museum made it clear that they do. People genuinely love these stories. They love the history. They love the Giants. You know, we started with just that one snurd, but one at a time, these Giants started getting added. We're not done yet. Lee and I are still brainstorming about how we can add more Giants. Now we're running out of space, so we're having interesting discussions about what we can do to add more. Both of us have more Giants that we can bring to the collection. There's more of the story to be told. And Lee has already started telling that extra story by opening another location just across the street and right next to the hot dog man. This is called Giants Route 66 Stop. And this used to be the Gunner Mass Trading Post when I first used to visit Atlanta a long time ago. And Lee and his wife Diane have completely restored and remodeled this building. And really made it look incredible. You know, you get to go to the museum and learn all about the Giants and see a lot of the original ones there. And then, if that's not enough, which it shouldn't be, you go across the street and it's almost like an extension of the museum over at Lee's shop. And in addition, you have like Pep Boys, the Fisk Tire Boy, the A&W Root Beer family over there. You have another version of the Esso Tiger, and you also have a lot of cool stuff. You know, people are always asking me, you know, where's the merch? What can we buy? And that's where this store comes in. You can buy the t-shirts, you can buy the bobbleheads. He's got all kinds of really cool vintage Route 66 sodas over there and all kinds of candy. And it's a very warm and inviting atmosphere. You know, him and Diane have decorated that place with a lot of their collection. There's old soda signs, there's neon. They bought a barber chair that they put next to the window there, and that chair is so popular. It's like every time I go in there, somebody is sitting in it. And people just go in there to, you know, drink a soda and hang out and chat. And I love seeing, you know, what has happened with this town. It's really changed since, you know, when I used to visit it and it was just the hot dog guy. You know, now it's like this whole giant culture there. And as far as Route 66 goes, you know, sometimes, you know, you go into the stores and things and it all can start to feel a bit the same. And I think that's one thing that we really wanted to do different in Atlanta is when you come in there, like, we really wanted it to be a different experience, something like, whoa, well, this is different. And that's exactly what people say when they walk in the door and they look around and they read about the history of the Giants. It's more than just, you know, a picture opportunity. It's an entire experience and something very, very unique to Route 66. It was a fantastic weekend. Again, thank you to all the social media people who showed up. Big thanks to Lee Woods, Bill Thomas. I want to thank my friend Dave Disler for driving in with his Frankenstein project and being such a big hit there with everybody coming to check out the head he's created and keep tuned for what he does with that giant. But I think it was a fantastic weekend. Atlanta continues making giant waves on Route 66. The museum continues growing. More giants are coming. More stories have been saved. For years, we imagined what a full lineup of giants would look like. And this Memorial Day weekend, we finally got to see it. And honestly, it was worth the wait.